greatly appreciate our good buddy James Ham making the trip out here before the game to hang out with us as we get ready for Kings basketball tonight. The Kings and the Toronto Raptors, two teams that look a little bit different than the last time we saw them play. But let's start with the news that we got right around this time yesterday. The extension is finally complete. Monty McNair will be the general manager for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, we're looking at a 3-year extension for Monty McNair and Wes Wilcox, his assistant GM. This is something, it's weird, like Damian and I, we started hearing the potential of this in early December and kept being told, no, it hasn't, nothing's happened. And then this kind of snuck up on them. Like, I don't know that they were fully prepared for this thing to hit like it did yesterday. So I'm not quite sure how that happened, but, there is no press conference as far as that I know of at this point.
Well, I would think you would know.
Yeah.
I would think you'd be one of the first to know if there was one.
I would probably know, but, you would kind of think that this is one of those things where you would at least want something short and sweet with, Vivek and Monty and Wes and, just like we're all in on this group and we're excited to move forward with them and all that stuff, but we haven't.
Vivek's not talking. Did Vivek talk when Monty was hired? I don't think he did.
I don't think he did either.
That was Zoom era, and I don't remember a Vivek Zoom.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I've talked to Vivek, like standing courtside with him quite a few times over the last maybe month. Not long conversations, but like he's very, very excited. He's also like super intense on like the day-to-day, like how is this team today? Like how are we going to win? Like he really, really wants a winner. And so that's the entire focus. And like hats off to him. The way to win is to be stable. That's the way to win in the NBA. Stability is how you win. And by doing the right thing by Monty and Wes, by doing the right thing this summer and allowing Monty to choose the right head coach, look at how well that's turned out. And that's something I think we have to, it's on Monty's resume already. I mean, but we can't forget how valuable that piece has been. The Mike Brown hire has just been tremendous. And we don't know what, Steve Clifford or, Mark Jackson or name that potential head coaching candidate would have been. But we do know that Mike Brown has been phenomenal.
They wouldn't have been this.
No.
It's Steve hard. Clifford, I don't think would have been this.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
But Mark Jackson, who knows? Probably not. But I mean,
Mike Brown is the perfect coach for this team.
100%. You said it when before he was hired. You said it. He was on that.
That's right.
We got to give Vivek credit though for demanding they take Keegan Murray. Everybody else wanted Jaden Ivey, but it was only Vivek who said, "I want Keegan Murray."
Yep. Yeah, I know. That's how we feel too.
I do know. I'll tell you this. Like I had
sarcasm there for those listening.
Yeah. I had conversations yesterday, and they're not moving Keegan Murray at all. Like there isn't one of those things where that there's a deal out there. Like, I mean, sure, if one of those once in a lifetime deals came along, maybe they would think about it. But they have a very, very high opinion of Keegan Murray, and I think it's only been bolstered by the last 2 to 3 weeks.
As they should. James, the thing, and Kenny and I do this almost every day now because the way Keegan's playing is, it's like, hey, Keegan's playing really well. What's this dude going to look like next year? Or the year after?
Yeah, like 2.
Or the year after that.
Oof. Yeah, I mean, they believe he'll be as good as Lauri Markkanen or better. Like, I think that they think he'll be better than Lauri. Yeah. Like, very, very clear. Yeah. So they're not moving him in that deal. And like we always say that, like, I've never sat here and said I would trade Keegan.
Liar.
What I have said is that when you call any NBA franchise, you call the Toronto Raptors and you say, hey, I like OG Anunoby.
Yep.
What is it going to take? The
Keegan
first
Murray.
Thing out of their mouth is going to be Keegan Murray.
That's where all the discussion started with the Kings.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's
where they end for the Kings as well.
You pivot and you say, okay, well, how many picks like instead? Because we're not doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting.
No, I look at Keegan. I've been talking about this with Damian the last week or so, and I just envision. I wonder what he said, what he looks like in 2 and 3 years. And if he can get that handle right to the point where he's able to create off the bounce on a regular, oh man, you talk about Lauri Markkanen and people thinking he's going to be better than Lauri Markkanen. That's what Lauri, and he's got a lot. Lauri's balling. He's an all-star, but that's what he doesn't have. Like, he not, hey, give it to him at the top of the key and he going to dribble break you down. If Keegan can get that to go along with how he catch and shoots, whew, sky's the limit.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, he might have that. He's just not showing it. So, I mean, that's what I kind of dig about Keegan, is that he listens really well. He understands exactly what the coaching staff wants from him. And I think early in the season, almost too much. Like, he's almost like reading the syllabus and following each step. And he knows exactly what it is that the coach wants from him on week 1 and week 2. And he's so focused on, following the rules. And then every once in a while you watch him and you're like, oh, that's Summer League Keegan, or oh, that's Iowa State Keegan. Is Iowa? No, Iowa,
Yeah,
Iowa,
regular,
not
right?
Iowa State.
Yeah, regular Iowa.
Yeah,
Hawkeyes.
regular Iowa. Yeah. So that's what you start to like see, these moments where you actually see that player, and if he can translate everything that he was at the college level to the pro level, then the Kings have a star level player.
So you think is he playing at the level he is right now because he's relaxed a little bit?
Yeah. The confidence is there. He's gone through some tough patches. He understands that when he goes through tough patches, that Mike isn't going to just bench him and go away from him.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to yell and scream at him. He's going to direct him. He's going to cut back his minutes here and there, but he's not going to lose his job. He's there for the long haul. He's going to be the starting small forward or power forward for this team, probably for the next decade. And he just needs to get comfortable in his role and keep building. And look, the Kings don't need that. Like, Mike Brown made a really interesting comment, was it yesterday? Because I asked him, to me, we were always waiting for this offense to get more intricate, right? So every single play would have like all of these variables off the plays. And as a team got to understand the offense longer and longer, and they got better at it, they would do some different things that, we're only seeing like 1.0. And I don't think that we've seen a lot of differences in this offense. But what we have seen is they've just got so much better at the basics, that where they were getting good passes early in the season, they're now getting perfect passes in position to fire, to shoot. And that's where this team is taking off, because we were watching, like, they got these same looks 3 months ago or 2 months ago, and we didn't see what we saw in the game against Memphis, where they, hit their first 10 threes and 12 of 13 to start the game. And they finished like 22 of 40 from 3, like something crazy, right? It's not that the shots are different. It's that every single pass is different. Every single pass has gone through a refinement. And so now they're getting these perfect balls to shoot. And we're just going to keep seeing them get better and better. And Mike even said, hey, like, we were waiting for this thing to kind of grow organically, well, like what we're talking about here, where we would just keep adding stuff. He's like, but we also said, we're going to let the players dictate some of the things that happen. And he said, we had this play with Sabonis is at the top. Harrison Barnes comes around the top, and then, they drag Keegan Murray up higher. And then all of a sudden, they realized that Sabonis could hit Harrison Barnes standing down on the block for a wide open layup. And they just start doing it again and again and again. And they said, we didn't know that wasn't even in our book of how this offense would work. But now it's become like a staple of our offense, that play is part of it. And it's all happened organically, where these players who each have their unique skill set are sort of growing together in a way that they didn't know. And I think that's the beauty of a guy like Sabonis, the beauty of the skill set of a guy like Fox. Like, what happens off of what they do, there's all kinds of things that will continue to grow and happen with this team, and it'll all be organic. It won't have to be forced. And we can see this saying, it doesn't mean they're going to start scoring 160 a night, but what it can mean is that they can be so much more efficient. And we're already seeing it. I mean, they're number 1 in offensive rating again as of today. It's the number one scoring offense in the league. They got to get better defensively. We're not going to talk about that side of the ball all that much. But the offensive side, we're seeing some really beautiful things, and it plays into what Keegan does. Keegan, that's what Mike said. He said, like, look, we understood that Herter and Barnes would start to pick up on these things quickly because that's who they are. They're smart, seasoned NBA players. But now we're seeing Keegan fit into that as well. And he's starting to grow, and he's starting to understand different ways that he can pin down a guy differently than everyone else can because of his post game and find an easy bucket for himself. So yeah, it's really fun to watch.
I'm glad you brought all that up because, I think a lot of the times, myself included, we want them to play a certain way, like they're flawlessly, perfectly execute. This group has been together like 45 games.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And we look at a Memphis or the way this Warriors been together 8 years. That's why they can just make things seamlessly. These guys haven't been together 8 months. And to hear you talk about how they're starting to get not even they have a grasp. They're starting to see things and get a grasp on it. I think that's a great job by you to just kind of put it all in perspective. Like, this is the beginning stages, hopefully, of something that we see for a few years. But this is at the
championships.
There you go.
There it is.
Or
at least they should win. At least they should. We can count the 6 that they should at least win.
Well, that's the Kenny Caraway logic. Yeah.
There's definitely going to be some sun.
We can add it to the 2002 and probably the 2003 of should have won. And we could get up to 6.
Do they still do the yellow tag on the back of the jersey? I think the Kings had a yellow tag on the back of it. The gold tag. Remember they used to do that? I don't think they do that no more. The gold tag for everybody that won a championship, and they had the number on the tag on these teams' jerseys. I remember because the Clippers had no gold tag.
Oh,
Kings had a gold tag though. They gave them the Royals one.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean,
I never knew that.
Yeah.
It's fun to watch this team though, to watch them grow. And we don't know where they'll be in a couple of years, but what we do know is that they're already so much better this year, and they're only getting better. Like we can keep watching them, and every single game they seem to be getting better. And I think the other point I'd make is, like, people forget Sabonis turned the ball over 8 times, and Fox had 6 turnovers in the win against Memphis, and they pounded that team.
Yeah,
I mean they turned the ball over 20 times, and they won by 30. I mean, and you can say, well, Jaw's not there and Steven Adams not there. Now Steven Adams is out 3 to 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tremendous blow to them. All of a sudden, that 3.5 game lead for the number 2 seed, that doesn't look nearly as secure as it was before. So you're starting to see, like, hey, like if this team keeps winning, this road trip means a lot, the 7-game trip. But what are there?
That's
6
crazy.
6 winnable games on the trip.
What is this? The rodeo road trip? Like I can't. 7-game.
It is. They are
trip.
bringing in PBR. They are.
That's real.
Yeah.
This is the rodeo road trip.
It
I thought
is.
that only happened in San Antonio. Well,
It's
there
funny.
you have it.
I remember when they did the rodeo in a couple of years ago, right before I think it was Katy Perry came in, and they said that when Katy Perry's music started going, started shaking dirt from the rafters everywhere from the rodeo, because they have to bring in so much dirt that the stadium inside, like, it's hiding all over the place. And they're like, oh man, like,
was this Arco or Golden One?
Golden One.
Oh
no,
goodness.
Wait, there was dirt in the rafters?
Yeah, there's dirt because, I mean, you don't just dirt doesn't just magically show up.
I thought it was.
Oh no,
always
you gotta bring that stuff in, and every
I thought
time
it was like fresh dirt every time. Like, I didn't know they stored it.
Oh no, I'm saying it got everywhere.
Getting it in and getting it out was
It is a dirty job. Yeah, and the stuff's everywhere.
messy.
Yeah,
They could go to the Memorial Auditorium,
Who could?
the PBR.
Oh, I don't.
I think they do
could.
motocross in there too.
Would
and
it
they
be
do
big enough?
Yeah, I don't know.
They could go. They could
we
go to.
don't need
Go to
dirt
Cal
all over
Expo.
the
Yeah,
place.
don't get our arena dirty.
Yeah.
We don't
Don't
need
you-
bulls
don't-
in there. We don't need
don't you get
circuses
it.
in there. Whatever the hell you are, go to Cal Expo.
Don't you get it dirty?
You're listening to D-Lo and KC on KIFM West Sacramento, 98.5 FM KRX QHD2 Sacramento, ESPN 1320, driven by Lasher's Elk Grove Dodge, always live on the free Odyssey app, which is available for you right now. whether you're on a iOS system, an Android system, whatever your preference is, download the Odyssey app, search ESPN 1320, save us as your favorite radio station. You will get alerted when we go live off hours, beginning on Saturday, following the Sacramento Kings and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Keegan's game on Friday was ridiculous. He had just set a career high, I think it was the game before, with 10 rebounds. He has 14 rebounds in that game, and the arena explodes louder and louder and louder after every three that he hit. And what do he have? I think he had 20 against Memphis. Like, he's on an incredible run, man. Him and Harrison Barnes both, they're just on incredible runs.
Yeah, what we're seeing from Harrison Barnes is some of the like craziest stuff.
3 All-Stars.
Yeah, you get on like a full Oprah and just give them all All-Stars.
Might as well. The way that they're playing right now.
Yeah, like, man, you're just watching him grow. And then again, I'll point out, like, against a young team like that, he instantly sensed that the players around him were young. And you could feel it, like, oh, he's more comfortable. And that's something to watch. Like, we're seeing this team throughout, like, sort of their maturation. Like, they put on a show against bad teams, typically. I mean, they've had, like, 2 or 3 slip-ups, and even those slip-ups are against, like, Charlotte, who got all their guys back, Washington, who got a bunch of their guys back, and then the Lakers. And you're like, oh, they slipped. Well, those are, like, really the only 3 truly bad losses of the season. But you see this team, like, against a typical bad team, a young team, and they just have an ability to hit the pedal and blow them out by 25 now. And so we're seeing this growth. And then against really good teams, it's usually a tight game, and it comes down to who makes shots, who makes the fewest mistakes, or who gets the calls. And, you know, the Kings aren't going to get the calls, so they can't leave it at that. But I do feel like they are growing and figuring out ways to win. And like this whole stretch where they had so many games that are 1 and 2 point games, it's just so good for this team, especially as we get later in the season when you're going to have a lot of games that actually mean absolutely nothing, or games that are huge in the standings. And we're going to see, you know, what they're made of.
I talked about it on Tuesday. We didn't get a chance to talk to you about it after the game on Monday until now, but I talked about it on Tuesday. I was like, that game on Monday night was the full Sacramento Kings experience in one game. You don't typically get it in one game, right? Like, you get them exploding to start the game on the offensive end, absolutely showing their offensive explosiveness. And then the Grizzlies are still in the game, and they come back and take the lead because the Kings don't play defense. So the Kings are always going to give teams an opportunity to get in because they don't play defense. And then you get to the point where the Kings just have another explosion after they play some defense for about 3 or 4 minutes, which is what they do. They give you about 3 or 4 minutes, and they combine that with another explosion to go from a tie game at 80-80 to winning 133-100. I mean, is that about how you saw it too? It was the full Kings experience on Monday, huh?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, but I also don't think that I ever truly felt that it was in doubt. I mean, I thought that, like, Desmond Bane, like, does he just like roll into every city and like walk around saying, "Hey, which way to the gym?" Like, that dude is so yoked.
I believe that's exactly.
I'm like, what in the world is happening? So people are like, oh, he just keeps getting to the rim. It's like,
how you gonna stop?
Okay. Yeah, there's a reason why Derrick Henry scores 20 touchdowns every year, because he's bigger and stronger than everybody else. Yeah. Like, how do you stop Desmond Bane from getting to the rack? Right. And especially when you have Jaw there doing the same thing. So I think that game really does like pivot, because you're missing 2 of their best players, and, you know, like an extremely explosive player, but also like the perfect counter to Domantas Sabonis and Steven Adams. So I'm not going to put all that much stock in that. But if you go back to the Philly game, you could see what I'm talking about. Like, against Tobias Harris, like, Keegan wasn't the same player. Like, he looked off against a player who really does like physically he matches up with. Like, they should have a good game, but we saw one guy who's got the experience and one guy who doesn't. And you could see that Keegan was a little shaky. But then to see him come back and do really good things against a really strong Memphis team was impressive as well.
One guy I don't think has gotten enough love over the course of the last couple of days, given the outings from Harrison Barnes and James. I want to talk about Trey Lyles here in just a couple of minutes, but this guy ties into a conversation we had just a couple of days ago, and that was the outing from Malik Monk. A near triple-double performance from him, and it was 13 points. But in James, you tell me if I'm wrong, because you spend more time at the arena than I do. I feel like when Malik scores like that, the energy he puts out is the energy he gets back from those fans. And he is the loudest 13-point scorer in the league. And there is just a different energy when Malik is cooking on the offensive end.
Isn't it funny? Like, we talked about this early in the season. Like, when he scores anything, you're like, oh my gosh, it's so huge. And Trey Lyles just goes out there and drops 24 on you. And it's the quietest 24.
I think it's the reactions.
I guess so. It's also like Trey Lyles is so workmanlike and Monk is so flashy that
I framed it like this. Could you imagine if it was Malik and not Harrison? If it was Malik Monk who had hit 5 straight threes to start the game?
Oh, there wouldn't be a roof on Golden One Center. It would have already blown off. Like, the fans would have blown the roof off. I totally agree. And, like, look, we went through on Monday, like, the stats, right? The stats are horrible. Like, for him for the last, since the first week in December.
Not great.
And I know some people took offense to me saying that, like, he had become almost unplayable. Like, look, I'm not saying
I took offense to it.
You could take offense to it all you want, but like, when someone's not coming up with the goods, that's where you're at. And I thought he fully came up with it. And the other thing I found very humorous, he knew exactly where he was statistically. He got pissed at Sabonis for missing a layup, but also stealing his rebound. So Sabonis went up, grabbed a rebound, and he heard it from Malik. Malik's like, dude, I'm right there. Like, he's pointing up at, like, and Sabonis even talked about it after the game. Just like, hey man, he was not happy I stole that rebound. He knew exactly where. And Sabonis, like, he's wandering the earth, like, tripping over triple doubles. He doesn't even really notice it's happening. But some guys, they know exactly where they're. And I'm glad Malik had a game like that, because but it's got to play over. It's got to carry over into the next game. You can't have the 33-point game and then nothing for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like, that's a dry spell that you just can't deal with. We went through it. Was it 9 games? He's averaging like 8 points a game and shooting like 32% from the field. It's just unacceptable. And so I'm glad he's back, but Mike has been a little cryptic there with like, look,
Mike, calm down.
He needs to get in.
Mike, you can't do anything. Stop this. Let him play through it.
He needs to get in the gym. That's what he keeps saying. Like, he needs to make sure he's doing the things to get out of it. And that means he needs to be in the gym. And it's like, what are you saying there? He hasn't been in the gym. It's been some interesting stuff that we've seen. Yeah, I like the way that Mike isn't afraid to put players on a little bit of blast.
Well, so far, these guys, from everything we can see, so far they respect it. They're like, all right, well,
yeah, they've responded.
Yeah.
I mean, I think wasn't it the game before that Mike said, oh, maybe we'll have to figure out what to do with Malik Monk. And we came in here, and I think the three of us talked about.
No, the hell you're not, Mike.
Figure out you gonna let him play through it is what you're
gonna do.
And then and my memory's not. It could be wrong. I think the next game was the Memphis game, because I think we were talking about this.
Oh no,
that day
it was Monday. Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah. Like, but it's part of what we have to do. We have to discuss, and sometimes it's uncomfortable because you're like, we know how much that guy means to this team. Like, he is one of the heart and soul players of this team.
Absolutely.
But 2 years ago, so was Rashawn Holmes, and so, like, that comes and it goes. Like, you got to be consistent. You got to, like, your teammates understand. They see the box score as well. There's no hiding from the numbers, and so you got to live up to what you're supposed to live up to on a basketball court. And they know how much they need him, but they also, like, look, if you're not going to be that guy, then we got to find other answers. Like, everyone feels that way. And that might mean that they don't give you the ball nearly as much. Your teammates, they might, like, look, if he's not hitting any shots, okay, I'm going to give it to Keegan because he is, or I'm going to give it to Kevin because he is. I mean, we totally missed. Kevin Herter had like 4 points. The Kings lambast somebody. They're starting shooting guard. That's 4 points. Like, of all the guys who hit
20
threes,
threes and they're starting.
Yeah, they had
at
12
4
threes in
points.
the first quarter. I don't know how many he ended. They had 12 threes in the first quarter, and
Yeah.
Kevin Huerter had none.
none. He did. I don't think he had one until the third quarter,
Oh, that's amazing.
and he only had one.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I that was just like a crazy offensive thing. And I'll also point this out. Like, we here in Sacramento, it's like, we've been beat down with one word since the Michael Malone era.
Pace.
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 And every time we're like, New York City, like, it's like the old Pace Picante commercial. And like, does it even matter now? Pace doesn't. The Kings keep dropping in pace and keep going up in offensive rating and keep going up in points per game.
That's why I always thought it was stupid. Like, the pace, no, it was just something people like grabbed onto for some reason. And it was really the Jaeger year, right? Like, when they started, weren't they like first in pace? And
I'll tell you,
off. And that, because that's what they used to always get mad at Luke. Well, the pace is different now. The pace, that's why we're not winning. Shut the hell up.
We were looking for reasons to be mad at Luke. Shut up,
dude.
Kenny. It was a gimmick the whole time.
Mike Malone, like, said the word pace out of spite at least 500 times. He hated the term. All he cared about was playing defense, and all the people above him cared about was pace, was them running. I mean, and that's again why he was called a Sousa marching band leader and not a jazz band leader, because somehow pace equates to being a jazz band leader.
Hey, this is Vivek's day. Stop bringing up old stuff.
It was a long time ago. Vivek is a new man. He's
delivered.
A new man
yeah,
he is. He's delivered us Monty McNair and Wes Wilcox for another handful of years. Was that one of the crazier games, the Memphis game, that you can remember covering? Like, I'm talking about basketball stuff, drama stuff aside.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm watching. It's the most incredible first quarter that I've ever seen. Like, what they end up with 47 points. I felt so bad. So anyone who has YouTube TV out there, the good folks that have YouTube TV, like, look, I felt so bad for you, and I start seeing it. My wife hits me up like, where is the game? And I'm scrambling. I'm texting while I'm watching this incredible thing unfold. And look, I got a bunch of friends there, so I was reaching out, and then they're like, look, we don't know who's blacked out and who's not. And I'm like, well, what do you want me to do? They're like, can you ask for zip codes? So I literally asked for zip codes. That tweet's still going. People in like Minnesota are giving me their zip codes, but I was trying to help out for a company that I no longer work for.
That's very
I
nice.
was trying to, because I'm watching something special, and all of these Kings fans are getting screwed out of watching. And it's not only
watching a dog show.
They're watching a 5-year-old dog show.
Oh,
yeah.
It wasn't even live.
It wasn't even a good brand new dog.
That's something Kenny would do.
No, I'm like waiting for the best of show people to pop on and start chatting. But I looked on my phone. I'm like, oh no, it's not here. So
that's tough. That's like if you guys are ever like, much like we do with TNT, and we always watch Charmed. After Kings games, there's like these martial arts boxing shows that come on that are old as dirt. Like, they're sitting there talking to
like old American
Vernon
Ninja.
Forrest, like, hey, what about this
Ninja
fight
Warrior.
last week? Like, what? That's what they did with the dog show.
Mine always just plays the music. Mine just goes purple and plays that awful music. And God forbid I turn the screen back on the next morning, because the music is always really loud.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
and you
bizarre.
might get like some Ronco stuff like the next morning.
Well, that's bizarre. I don't know what's going
Well,
on.
it might just be streaming. I don't
So
know.
out there, people, I was trying to help. That's all. Like, and I was trying to help the Kings fans, because I was watching something special, and I'm like, oh man, I can't believe they're not. Normally, I'm not helping out. I might send a text to somebody and say, hey, your game's not on again. This is the third time this season this has happened.
And it never, it never went on, right?
It started going on. I started seeing responses. Hey, it's back on in my zip code. Like,
I don't think it went on in everybody's zip code.
Yeah.
Only the people who responded to James's tweet, I guess, got to see the game. But you had
I don't
all of
know.
that happening at the beginning, the YouTube TV drama, combined with the ridiculous amount of 3-pointers. The fact that this team was, and this was the thing we talked about so much the next day, it was just 3 after 3 after 3 from Harrison, and then Keegan got in on the act, and then Davion got in on the act. Everybody was in on it, and they were up by 2, and then 3, and it's like, okay, like,
Defense,
all right,
man.
like, man, they just threw their best offensive punch possible at this team. The game's going to settle down. This pace, sorry, no pun intended, is not going to continue. The shooting pace isn't going to continue. How is this game going to shape out? There's a little bit of room there, but we're all antsy headed into the fourth quarter. And then something happens where the Kings picked up their defense. De'Aaron started becoming a menace on the defensive end. And then the shot started falling again. And Memphis was done at that point, and it was a 30-4 run to close out that game.
Yeah, have you ever seen that?
No, I don't think so.
30-4 run in the last 9:59.
Like, they won that. It's still funny to say that they won that game by 33 points.
Yeah, it was the fourth quarter. I think was 33-10.
That's it. Yep.
Yeah, but that last stretch was
those 6 points for the those 6 points for the Memphis Grizzlies came pretty quick in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and that's while they had bench players in too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even look what Trey Lyles did in that moment. I mean,
Crazy.
Trey Lyles was like absolutely.
He's
wild.
been incredible.
He has been.
He just does everything right. Like, there on occasion he has a stinker of a game, but he's so smart. And he just does the right things on.
But
the
even
court.
if you have a stinker of a game, that doesn't necessarily mean he did something wrong.
Right.
Oh, true.
Right.
Like, he feels like that. He feels like the guy who's constantly going to make the right play, whether the shot falls or not. Different story. But he's not going to put you in harm's way, so to speak.
Yeah, totally. And I know Mike has worked a ton with him on. He's talked about the scouting report with Trey Lyles. He's like, our scout was that we didn't have to run at you at the 3-point line because you were just going to pump fake and try to go around us. So we just stayed down on you and we didn't go up. And he's like, so I need you to shoot that ball. He's like, you're a great shooter. Stop with the pump fakes. You get in the key, that's fine. Do your pump fake thing. But out on the perimeter, you take the ball. When you catch it, you're ready to fire and you fire it. And I think it's made a tremendous difference. What's he shooting, like 37, 38% now? And he's just adding that other weapon that you didn't know that you could have. And then he started blocking shots. He ended up with 3 blocks. Like, that guy was all over the court. And he just gives you a really reliable, competent player. And if you look at his stats are so much worse than they were last year. Like, his scoring numbers and output stuff, it's not the same. It's just about the opportunity that he's doing. And he's playing so much better as a basketball player than he was last year. So, yeah, he impressed me like day one when he got into town. I'm like, how in the world is Trey Lyles making $2.6 million? Like, that was my first thought. You watch him play for like 3 games. You're like, okay, why is he underpaid like this? And then he loses 20 something pounds during the off season, comes in, just cut. And he's got a better lift. He's, going in and getting rebounds, which again, he's a guy that was always great on the offensive rebounds, but not great on the defensive boards. Mike lit a fire under him, said, hey man, I need you to get defensive rebounds now. Okay. Went out, starts getting 8 rebounds, 6 rebounds a game. And you're like, okay, like, you can stay on the court. He's been on the court in crunch time because he's played his way into it, and super happy for the guy, super impressed with what he's doing. But also, like, he's the guy that he's answered some of the questions what Sacramento Kings need. Like, do they still need a rangy defender that can do a bunch of things, that can block shots and stuff? Sure they do, but like, he's a good guy to have on your roster.
Yeah. I talked about it on Monday. I mean, I'd love to see him around here moving forward. I know he's a free agent. He may get some offers that are maybe outside of what the Kings are willing to pay, but I think he is a good rotational guy. He's a good guy to have if you're trying to be a winning team, a playoff team coming off your bench. I've been impressed with Trey Lyles since he got here, and he's played better this year than he did last year.
Yeah,
well, maybe not statistically, but just the eye test. It feels like he's played better this year.
Yeah, we've got to do we've got to avoid like the Ike Diagu situation, where everyone thinks that Ike's going to get all this money and he doesn't get anything. Harry Giles, same thing, right? Like everyone's like, oh, you can't opt out of his contract. He's going to get $6 million or $7 million. You're not going to be able to afford him. And, that's not what happened. And so I think with Trey, it's very specific. You go into free agency and you want to retain him, but he's on the list of players that you want to retain. And I'll even say down the stretch, I think we're going to see him, especially against smaller teams. Like he's going to play a lot more small ball 5. He's going to be sort of that answer if they don't go get someone at the deadline, because he can do so much. He can space the floor. He is strong. He can rebound in that situation. And we're going to start seeing him slide over. And you could see it in the playoffs where your rotation really drops to like 8-man rotation with, Sabonis is going to play 40 plus minutes in the playoffs. And you could see that Trey could be one of the few guys that come off the bench just because he's not going to make mistakes. He's going to do the things you need him to do.
Trey's up this year. Chemezi, is he up?
He's up. Alex Len,
Terrence
Davis.
Yeah, Alex Len and TD excluded from this conversation. Specifically Chemezi, and we can include Harrison and Trey Lyles. Do you think those guys see extensions before the season ends?
No.
None of them?
Yeah, I mean, should they consider Harrison? Sure. But I think, again, you want to get through the trade deadline. Let's see what happens here. I don't think like Harrison Barnes will be part of that. And we got Mike Brown going out and saying he's irreplaceable and that he absolutely wants him here after the deadline. I get that. And we talked to Harrison yesterday, and he's come around. You can tell, like,
oh, good.
He would be a lot more receptive to being here than I think he would have, like, clearly during the summer. Like, we've seen a pretty big change. He even at the end of his press conference yesterday, of his media scrum, he said, yeah, we might even be able to get like a home playoff series. And I'm like, wait, what did you just say? I'm like, did you just say home playoff series? And it's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, we could have home court. I'm like, okay.
Cocky Harrison
Okay,
Barnes.
Wait a sec. Well, you don't even think about that. The 3 seed means you get home court. Like, if any Kings fan is out there thinking about home court right now, you'd slap them. Like, what are you thinking? Like, that's not going to happen. But they keep winning and they keep doing things.
Look
and
at those standings. It's right there.
Just me and Harrison Barnes. We're the only one to be thinking that
way. Kenny's already got his seats.
I think. Well, of course, they're right next to Uncle V's. Like,
right.
why wouldn't
courtside? Kenny's already got his seats.
You've done a great job, Uncle V. You've done a great job. Let me be the first to tell you.
So you don't think? Those guys will get extensions? Is that something that, like, you don't think it wouldn't make sense for the Kings to do? It wouldn't make sense for Chemezi or Trey Lyles to do? Do you explore the market before you sign those guys? Like, what's your line of thinking with those two specifically?
Yeah, I mean, I think first of all, I look at both of those players completely differently as far
Understood.
as Chemezi and Trey. Like, I think one fits into one box, one fits into another. So yeah, are you going to chase them in free agency? Are you really going to strongly consider bringing a guy like Trey Lyles back, maybe even Chemezi back? Sure, you're going to at least keep the door open. But I mean, I would point out in Chemezi's case very specifically, look at how good Damian Jones was for this team last year. And they did not like make a move for him to come back. And I mean, these same guys were on the court outside of Sabonis. Like, you still had Rashawn Holmes, you still had Alex Len, and he was playing minutes and they weren't. There came a point where Rashawn stepped away, but there was a point where Damian Jones was playing major minutes. And you didn't even really consider bringing him back at like 26 years old. So, I think they'll keep their options open there. I think with Trey, he just makes sense. Like, he's not going to get a bunch of money, I don't think. Usually once you go down in salary, you don't go way back up. Very seldom do you see a player go way up. So could he get a 2-year 6, a 2-year 7? Sure. But I also, because he signed a 2-year, I think it's 2-year $5 million deal. I don't think he's eligible for an extension because he has to have a certain amount of years. As far as Chemezi, yeah, there's some way that some mechanism, but I wouldn't think that either one of them are going to be something that you would do that with right now.
Okay, we'll come back. We'll talk more Kings basketball. We'll talk specifically about Kings basketball tonight against Nick Nurse and OG and Pascal and that whole crew with Toronto. And we'll do that when we return. James Ham, D'Lo, and KC here on Sacramento Sports Leader, ESPN 1320. Hit the thumbs up while you're here, man. We appreciate everybody tapping in. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe buttons. If you're not a subscriber, and I know a lot of you aren't. I see the numbers. I know a lot of you aren't subscribers, man. Become one. You'll like us, I promise.
Look what I got, Ryan.
Oh, wow. Louis Vuitton shoes. Wow. That's wonderful, Casey. Oh, Louis Vuitton purse. Man, he got
Baby
the baby
purse.
a baby Louis Vuitton purse, man. This boy Kenny, man, he on a different level than the rest of us.
Here, Bear Bryce.
Huh?
No, I don't think the Kings are going to fall down to 11. I haven't said that at all. I'm just more realistic than
Hold on, Bryce.
a lot of
on.
people out there.
Hold on.
Thanks.
It's not a good look.
So I said, to hell with Deuce Mason. It's a war now. No.
That's funny.
We were talking about something you guys were talking about. I just hadn't been hip to it yet. So
Yeah.
that's all.
Yeah, we were just having a discussion. Yeah.
You don't need no other body.
Look, someone asked if I think, well, someone else put that they think that the Kings are like a 5-6. Like at this point, like my prediction early was that they were a maximum 6, but I didn't think they were any worse than 11, and that they had a chance to be between 6 and 8. At this point, I'm throwing all that out the window. I have no idea. I have no idea what this team is going to finish.
What is that? An iPhone 2? What is that?
I do need a new phone.
What?
It's like, oh, Kenny got a baby iPhone. What is this? Mr. Cook must have sent this to you. I don't remember these.
I got this about when I first moved back here, so it's like 4 or 5 years old.
There is no fourth wall. Absolutely not. But yeah, sometimes you just gotta hit the mute button once in a while.
Yeah.
And that's all.
Yeah.
I heard a nice little discussion. It was on the Bill Simmons podcast.
Of course it was.
About these guys not playing. And they had a serious discussion like, man, what are we gonna do about this?
Well, like the Jimmy Butler thing?
Yeah, I don't think they had even seen that yet. But
it was probably like the Steph not playing in Cleveland.
Yeah, that's what it was. Because
yeah, I saw some dude hold up a sign. I drove 800 miles to see Steph playing.
Well, even though and even then, Kerr, at first, I think he mentioned like he did it almost out of protest. Like, we don't need 82 games. And then he apologized, maybe after he saw the sign or something like that. But it's like, what are we gonna, if they're not going to shorten the season, like what are we going to do? Because it is getting a little wonky. Like, I mean, what happened on Monday? People didn't know Ja wasn't playing till, an hour before the game. At that point, they've already spent their $300 on tickets.
That I don't know that there's a lot of people from Memphis that were showing up just to watch Ja play.
No, but Ja is a national
he's a draw.
player. Like,
Yeah.
there's people, Reese, like, oh my gosh, Ja's in town. Like, you're going to see Ja. Like, he was hyped. Like, and that's one of those guys that when he rolls to an NBA city, kids ask their parents, like, hey, can you drop these tickets to go see Ja Morant? And then you find out an hour before he's not playing. Like,
he was questionable all day, and like they played the night before, and you could tell, like, with Steven Adams. I mean, Steven Adams was like seen at an orthopedic doctor in Sacramento during the day. Like, that's one of those things where you're like, okay, if they're gonna rest a player. I find it slightly strange that you rest Ja against the Kings when that opened the door for the Kings to tie the season series. And it's over now, and you're tied, and it's a team right below you in the standings. Yeah.
I love you said, here we go, like James didn't hear that.
I forgot. Well, typically,
I'm not
James
here.
is on the, so we always got to tell him, hold on, but I forget, man, James right in the studio with us now.
He is, man. We here talking Kings basketball with the Sacramento Kings taking on the Toronto Raptors tonight. The point differential for a team comfortably under 500 right now in the Toronto Raptors is pretty interesting. It's like zero. It's like 0.2 or something. They're losing games at a razor thin margin. They're a team with a ton of talent. And James, correct me if I'm wrong. Like, I think this is a team that can create some frustration for the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah, I mean, Toronto's actually, they're a plus 0.2 in net rating on the season, which is 15th best in the league. They are losing a lot of tight games. They're a bit of a mess, though. They're long, they're athletic, they're very physical. I love, like, you can give me like 5 or 6 of their players. Like, they have guys up and down that roster. I'd be like, oh yeah, I'd take Fred VanVleet. I would take certainly Scotty Barnes. I'd say Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, Gary Trent. Like, they have a lot of players that are, like, they're quality players, and all that length they have is, that's the type of team that's the type of thing that the Kings are just lacking. And but for some reason they're not putting it together, which I find really strange, because I think Nick Nurse is incredible. He's a great coach. I was up there for the finals, covering Warriors for, like, I was up there twice and had another plane ticket scheduled to go up for if there was a game 7. And I just think he's a bright mind, and he usually has a really good pulse on his team. And for some reason this year it's just not working out. And I think they're closer to blowing things up than they are to, like, bringing it all back and trying to fix something. And that just seems really strange to me.
I don't mean any disrespect by this, but they don't have any number ones. They got a lot of 2s and 3s, which you can win in the regular season with, for sure. But Pascal Siakam, as much as I like his game a lot, like, I really like his game, and he's played great. He's probably going to make the All-Star team this year. I don't look at him as a number one. They don't have a number one out there.
Yeah, as a true number one on, like, a really, really good contending team, no. I mean, is he a number one? He's a number one, like Julius Randle's a number one. They're really, really good players, but they're not really good players on a 50-win team, a 55-win team that's, like, going to be playing for, like, the Eastern Conference Finals.
Like, you talk about the point differential and close games. Like, where are you going in the fourth quarter?
Yeah,
you need a bucket. VanVleet, he can hit it, but I mean, he's still kind of small-ish, and they got guys who can hit buckets. Siakam can hit buckets, but they don't have a Fox who's gonna get you whatever he wants whenever he wants.
No, I mean, it's very true. I mean, like, you could look at Siakam's stats and then look at Sabonis' stats. They're not that far off, like, if you really balance everything out. But, like, Sabonis is a much more impactful player, it feels like. More center of the universe, like a guy that you design everything around. So I guess you're right there. I think what they will transition to do is make Scotty Barnes into that type of player for them, like a Draymond Green with slightly more offensive potential. And better length, better size.
He's
so
really good.
He's really good. But he
Oh,
ain't
yeah, I
number
love Scotty
one.
Barnes.
Like, and he.
Well, no.
Well, neither is Draymond.
No, but see that. But you said it like, and I agree with you. Like, I think they look at Scotty like, eventually they want to build a franchise around him. But here's what I always say about stuff like that. Like, if you build a franchise around him and he's not a number one, you're still gonna have to find a number one.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a difference between a number one scoring option and a number one option. So, like for the Kings, the number one on this team, it's not De'Aaron Fox, it's Domantas Sabonis. The number one scoring option is De'Aaron Fox. The number one option, the guy that you run everything through and everything around, and who really makes the thing run, is Sabonis. And I mean, you're surrounding. It just so happens that both of their skill sets work perfectly with if you line up shooters all around them. So they're complementary pieces in that way, while they're not fully complementary because neither one of them is a knockdown 3-point shooter. Like stats be damned this season, like here and there. Like sure, they've had some moments, but you know, in order for those two to work, you have to have all the spacing and all these players that make sense. Just like LeBron, like that's a silly thing about like the Lakers, the construction of the Lakers, but also the construction of the Cavs for plenty of the years when he was there too. Like if you don't put shooters around him, then you're doing yourself and him a complete disservice. He is the most like disruptive force on the court that you can ever find. And he draws so much attention that every single shooter gets wide open looks. It's why Buddy Hield, while, you know, like I covered Buddy for a long time and I know Buddy's flaws, Buddy Hield would average 20-something points a game for that team. He would have shot, 10, 11, 12, exactly what he's doing with Indiana, where he's really highly functional. If he's your second or third best player, that's not a good thing, which is what was the case here in Sacramento for way too long. Buddy Hield can't be that, but he can be one of your top scoring options. And that's where, like, I kind of differentiate. Like, you can have a true, like, dominant number one player. I mean, Sabonis doesn't average 19 points a game. So, I mean, he's right underneath that. So it's not like Sabonis is going out there every night and carrying you to victory in a conventional way where he's scoring all these points. But what he is doing is he's controlling the entire game. He's, between assists and screen assists and scoring, he's over 50 points a game that he's impacting directly. Those are things that you just can't replace.
And I agree. But with those guys, you still need the guy that's going to put up 25. And those guys don't fall on trees or come off trees, right?
Yeah.
Like even you look, I have this talk when people talk about Evan Mobley. Evan Mobley's really good. They're like, yo, Evan Mobley is the franchise. They still had to go get Donovan Mitchell. So how franchise are you really if they got to go get another guy that can produce more? And I know
you got to have more.
Yeah.
Like I don't.
But if the Cavs had Donovan Mitchell, they wouldn't be like, we have to go get Evan Mobley. They go find somebody like Garland or like Jared Allen to complement.
Well, Donovan is the guy who was available. Like, what if the guy available was Jamal Murray? You know what I mean? Like Donovan was the guy who you could go get. It wasn't.
But Jamal can go get it. Like he'd be in the same.
No,
place.
I know what you mean.
If it was flipped, they wouldn't. They'd love to have Evan Mobley, but they wouldn't. They'd be like, man, Jared Allen, we can get a guy like that. You don't have to be franchised.
Evan Mobley on the trading block would be what Sabonis was last year. It'd be talked about like, oh, it'd be good. And then it's kind of like, oh, we traded a young draft pick for him. For Evan Mobley? Oh, why?
I love Mobley.
So do I. No.
So
do I. I think guys like Evan Mobley, those types of games, Evan Mobley, Devontae, I think they're almost disrespected because they're not the 50-point scoring capability that Donovan Mitchell was, or Jamal Murray, or insert high scoring guard here.
Yeah, no, I get it.
I think it's like the only player that I can think of in the league that really you're kind of talking about that like a all around the scorer that does everything type deal is Luka, right? But we've seen that it's so incredibly difficult to build a team around Luka. Like they haven't done it. They still haven't done it. They haven't figured it out fully how to build a team around Luka. And that's really weird because it's with LeBron, we saw what they did early in his career where they built a team around him that was, man, some of those teams he took to the finals were crazy bad. Like, I don't.
Who was the Sasha Pavlik? Was the shooting guard?
They had Zydrunas Ilgauskas, they had Boobie Gibson, they had
Verjao,
Anderson
Iron
Verjao.
Newell.
Was it Mo Williams?
Mo Williams
was his second
Shout
best
out
player on
Jackson
his team?
State, you know, head coach. Big
It was a
ups.
defensive juggernaut, though, wasn't it?
Well, they went out there because of him.
The league was
Because I'm
defensive
not putting
juggernaut. Nobody
Zydrunas
scored.
Ilgauskas on any defensive, like all defensive team. Like most of those players, I'm not. Even like a guy like Mo Williams is okay defensively.
Boobie? You won't put Boobie on an all-defensive team?
Not really. I mean, your big move was to go out and get like 32-year-old Antoine Jameson.
There you
I think they went and got Shaq once.
Yeah. So it's funny
Larry
though
Hughes.
because
Who remembers the Shaq era in Cleveland?
that's right. We talk so much about like
bodyguard.
how he goes to Miami and they build this super team. Well, it mainly was because he was on an island by himself forever.
Hmm.
And it's like, okay, I couldn't win that way, so I'm going to go win with the super team. And now they've tried to kind of go back and like the super team hasn't worked out because of injuries and stuff like that. But they've never built the team around him like they should have. Like Miami, how much did they need Ray Allen? They needed him a ton because he's a guy who spaced the floor because he had the other three guys. I mean, Chris Bosh was the best floor spacer of the three at that point in their careers. So I don't know. It's interesting.
That's traitor Ray Allen, right? Jesse? Traitor.
I don't have any beef with Ray Allen
Okay.
anymore.
All
We're
right.
good.
All
All
right.
right. KG and
Wait a
Paul said
minute.
they're good.
Did you say I don't have any beef with Ray Allen anymore?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're good. All right.
I love
Paul
you.
and KG said they're good, so we're
They
good.
hugged it out.
I love you Celtics guys, man. You guys are the best.
They all hugged
Okay,
it out.
you
As
guys-
Lucky to
as a
step
family.
on Lucky though.
They tried to trade the man and they get mad because
They literally blamed every issue that team had on him. And then he left and man, we're not going to talk to him for a decade and a half.
Well, yeah, he went to the team they were competing against in the Eastern Conference Finals every time.
Well,
you guys didn't want him.
Yeah, but don't go there. Don't go there.
would you there's so much talking. I don't imagine it's going to quiet down if Toronto keeps losing headed into the trade deadline on the 9th, that Toronto is a team, high-end teams are going to watch to see if they splinter apart that group. There is a lot of talent over there. Would you do it? Would you? Is Toronto as a top 6 playoff contender done?
I can't imagine that it is.
I can't either, but
They have too
man,
much
they're ready
talent.
to.
You're just
imagine it
waiting
is.
the whole time for them to figure it out.
It's done. They're not top 16 this year.
I don't know.
No, I mean, period. Like the group of Siakam and OG
Yeah, they ain't no top
and
16.
Scotty, it can't be salvaged. It's
They
done.
ain't no top 16. Not
That's
that
wild.
group. They could add on to
That's
that.
what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about this year.
But I'm talking
about
but that's
moving
what
forward.
it is. Like you have to add on. Like you have to.
Yeah. I got that. But let me phrase the question differently. Obviously, this is my fault. Would you break the group up?
I hope
If
they
I
get
can't
broken.
add on, I would. If that makes it like that's anything, right? Like you have to add on. When you talk about the group's got to be different.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because you're talking about would I break this group up? Yeah.
You
This group has
break
to be
up
different.
Scotty Barnes, Siakam, and OG. You'd break that group up. That group as the core of a team you build around isn't going to work.
That group, no.
Okay. That's what I
To
was
be
asking. I'm a
top
broadcast
6,
journalist.
To be
Yeah.
top 6, no.
Okay.
Because that's what they're facing right now.
Top
Then
6 in the East is
Right.
they're
Now-
tough to
also
crack too.
Now here's the thing about like your question. I mean, moving one of them, I don't think is blowing it up. You know what I'm saying? Like if you move OG and keep Siakam, Barnes, and Van Fleet, you know that's not. You could probably even stand to move 2 of them and get something back that helps you. You know, it's just going to be a different era of that particular Raptors group. But
Man,
like
Miami,
all of them, when I hear blow up, I think get rid of all of them. And I don't.
I
know
think
if you
getting
have
rid
to-
of at least 2 of them. That's what I think is blowing it, because I don't think they're trading Scotty Barnes.
Mm-mm.
no.
Scotty Barnes, I don't think they're trading him.
Well, I
And-
think
And maybe that's what the build around thing is.
yeah, because he's 21.
he's the guy you're keeping.
Yeah,
You're moving the other guy.
Well, that's the problem you have with like Fred VanVleet. He's 28 and he wants like 130 or 140 million.
Yeah.
I think he turned down like a huge extension offer. And so it puts you in a really awkward position because he's an unrestricted free agent this summer, and there's a good chance you lose him for nothing. So,
well, that's a flaw of the CBA that they should correct today. If they corrected that today, there's no Domas drama.
There you go.
But
there it is.
That's probably not being corrected before Domantas Sabonis is
I
didn't realize Miami's a top 6 team.
No, I can't believe.
I don't know if there is like the Domas drama. I think like how much do you think that yesterday fixed any potential Domas drama?
Well, drama is probably an unfair word, especially with this fan base and organization, but it's still like Domas is going to be an extension isn't coming. It makes zero financial sense for DeMont. He can be offered one, but it doesn't make sense for him to sign it. Domantas Sabonis is going to be free to leave the Sacramento Kings. Maybe drama is the wrong word, but Kings fans are absolutely going to be concerned unless he does a press conference and says, I'm not leaving, or after they sweep the Golden State Warriors in the first round of the playoffs, he'll I'm gonna light the beam and I'm not going anywhere. That won't even work because Kyrie did it. Kyrie did it.
There's a little bit of a difference.
Kyrie did it in front of the Boston Celtics fans, and everyone just kind of ignored it, like, yeah, okay. And then he left.
He also said he's going to go, like, I mean, you expected he's going to go on a walkabout and see if he falls off the face of the earth because it's flat.
Well, he said today he wants a contract. His agent said.
Well, of course he does.
In Brooklyn.
NBA Eastern Conference All-Star Kyrie Irving. We'll see if that actually happens, but he should be in the Eastern Conference.
Oh, absolutely.
We'll see if it happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
The talent's never, it's like undeniable, but
never has been.
Yeah,
well, I was just saying, like this particular year, we'll see if it happens. We'll see if they put him on the All-Star team, but he should be.
He should.
You know, I think this is just a gut feeling for me. I'd be, and I don't, not saying either one of you feel differently. I'd be surprised if Sabonis wasn't here. There's not much drama or angst for me. I think as a young man, you know, looking for some place to establish and create some roots. And now it's been shown that this team can be successful. I think there's a great like chance that he's, whenever it's financially good for him to sign that deal, that's the only thing holding it up, is the fact that it doesn't make sense for him to sign this offseason. I think
I think if 100%. You asked him today, that would like an honest off the record, that would probably be his answer. But we're a long ways away from, you know, not this coming summer, but the following summer. Like things can happen. You never know. I will say, like, I do believe
win a couple championships before then. I mean,
yeah, there it is. But I do believe
James
that
will get a ring.
Another
one to add to your collection of championship
rings. By that point,
rings
I should have like 6.
Bill Russell Ham.
Yeah. How many championships I should have had, though?
Y'all been waiting for that James Ham book. Just wait. James is going to have a book coming out called 12 Rings.
Yeah. From rags to rings. There's the title right there. From rags to rings. It's all like someone write that down for me. Like I'm looking at Sabonis, and like we talked to him today, and he was asked very specifically, like, does that help you build confidence in what's happening here that Monty McNair and Wes Wilcox are back? And he said, yeah, these are you guys that wanted me. They're the ones that went out and got me. They're the ones who took the gamble to get me.
Yeah.
You know, who got, he didn't say it, but who got raked over the coals by national media for giving up Tyrese Halliburton. So, you know, I think it's interesting that it will play a part of it, because that's going to be the group. The guys who did trade for him, who have embraced him, are the ones who are going to like be here to make that decision for him. At least they should.
Did he say Tyrese by name?
No. Okay. No.
He's like, he's never once referenced that trade. I've never heard him reference the trade. Not one single time. Never heard him mention the trade, Pacers, Tyrese, Indiana, Hoosiers, the place I used to be, like nothing. Larry Bird. I've never heard him mention anything.
It's funny. Like I feel the same way that I believe he does. Like it's over and done with. That it was a chapter in a book, and that chapter is over, and I've moved on to the next chapter. Like that's how. Like, do we bring up Tyrese here and there? Like, look, I love watching Tyrese as a player. Like once the deal happened, we did like the digest it and like break it down to like the like minutia and just completely kept like harping on it for like 3 or 4 days. And then for me, it was like, okay, it's over. Like I don't cover him anymore. And I think God, I don't have to go aggregate content. And every single time he says something on some podcast, I don't have to go write 600 words on what Tyrese Halliburton just said like I used to. But for me, it's one of those things where you're like, look, I cover a lot of NBA players. I've covered hundreds of NBA players. You just have to move on to the next one. And that's kind of how I feel like Sabonis is. Like he'd been traded before. He'd been traded. This is his 4th trade. So he's like, this is old hat. Like I understand what happened and I'm moving on. And it doesn't matter that I was a 2-time All-Star or that I was the center of the franchise or anything else. They never paid him that way. It's not like here in Sacramento where like you didn't just keep saying the Fox is the head of the snake and the face of the franchise. You paid him $163 million over 5 years. Like he's making 30 something million this year and every year for the next 4. Sabonis has never had that. Like he's only making 19 million bucks. He's never been told that you are not only did you make the All-Star team, but you are our All-Star. You are our star and we're going to pay you the way that a star is paid. And that's a big difference too. Like it just hasn't happened for him. And the Kings are going to roll out the red carpet and make sure he feels like he is he's embraced as a star that he is, because holy cow, the dude is a flat out star. He's right now he's playing as one of the best top 5 players in the league. And people keep saying like, oh, you're crazy. Go look at the advanced stats.
He's gonna start in the All-Star game.
I think so. Like
he's going to be LeBron's first draft pick.
James Ham will mow Domantas Sabonis' lawn.
I don't know where his lawn is, but I'll just tell you, like every single national or every writer that has the right to vote has him as a starter that I've seen.
Good stuff. I know Slater said that, right? Didn't Slater say that yesterday? Slater has a vote. He said that yesterday that he cast him as a starter. We appreciate you so much for being with us. If you're on youtube.com/ESPN1320, Twitch, Facebook, make sure you hit the thumbs up before you go. Make sure you hit the subscribe buttons. If you haven't downloaded the Odyssey app, go do that. Download the Odyssey app on whatever your iOS platform is, your Android platform is. Search ESPN 1320. Save us as your favorite radio show. You'll get alerted when we go live with special segments off hours. And if you